Good morning. All right, so this video is to review with you guys how to find the area of different shapes. We're going to go through parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids. All right, so first one is a parallelogram, and I've written out different shapes that are parallelograms. So parallelograms are four-sided shapes. They could be a square, a rectangle, or a parallelogram like this. It could be a kite. Usually a four-sided shape, and the different sides have to be parallel to each other. All right, the basic formula for finding the area of a parallelogram is base times height. So base means the bottom, height means how tall it is. All right, so let's go through some of these. So if I wanted to find the area of this square, I could even, if I want to label, all right, base is 12 inches, height on the side is 12 inches. I'm going to set it up in my equation, which means instead of the B and the H, I'm going to be looking to see if I can replace those two, just like we did with equations, to find the answer for area. So in order to do that, instead of a B for base, I'm going to fill in 12. Instead of an H for height, I'm going to fill in 12. And now all I have to do is multiply that out to find the area. So 12 times 12 makes 144. And then the only tricky part about finding the area of a parallelogram is that I have to label my answer. Now I see that both of these were inches, so definitely inches is going to go on there. But when I find the area of something, because I multiplied inches by inches, I get inches squared. So kind of think of it like I multiplied two things together, so my unit has a 2 on it. All right, so that would be my answer for the area of this square. All right, so let's try the same thing with a rectangle. Same idea. B stands for base, and H stands for height. All I need to do is fill it into my equation. So instead of a B for base, I'm going to put a 9 in there. Instead of an H for height, I'm going to fill in a 5. And 9 times 5 gives me 45. I'm going to label it with feet. And again, since it's area and I had feet times feet, I put a 2 there, an exponent, to show me that my feet are squared. All right, now the one that you saw on your practice a bit that might have been a little confusing, a parallelogram. Now sometimes they might try to trick you. They might put the height on like this diagonal line, and that's not actually height. Sometimes they might actually put the height outside of the shape, and they'll do something that looks like this, and they'll label it with 3 centimeters. That is the height. That tells you how tall it is. All right. Excuse me. Oh, bless me. All right, so regardless though, I'm going to go back to this formula. Area equals base times height. Now, base is usually on the bottom, but the bottom and the top are parallel to each other, which means they're exactly the same. So this time, my base number is 6 centimeters, and that's okay. And then my height is 3 centimeters. Again, I'm going to go to that formula. Area equals base times height. Instead of the base, I'm going to put 6. Instead of height, I'm going to put 3. I'm going to multiply those two together to get 18. And I'm going to label it with centimeters squared. All right, so that's it. Parallelograms are the easiest ones because it's just base times height. All right, so let's now move to triangles. Triangles are very similar. There is only one difference. So when I find the area of a triangle, I am going to do area equals 1/2 base times height. So what that means is that I'm going to still do base times height, just like the parallelogram, but then I'm going to cut it in half. So I'll just make that note. Cut in half. I like to do that at the end. Sometimes that makes it easy. All right. So let me give you a triangle. Let's walk through this. All right. So a lot of times you'll see right triangles, but not necessarily. Right triangles means it's got a right angle, which is why you'll see that little square in the corner. All right. I'm going to label this one with 4 centimeters on the side and 3 centimeters on the bottom. All right, so again, base means bottom of the triangle. H stands for height. So I've got base at the bottom there and height on the side. And my area formula is 1/2 times base, which is 3, times height, which is 4. All right, so when I go to do this, I'm going to focus on this 3 times 4 to start. That tells me that I've got 1/2 times 12. All right, so I just did that part right there. And then 1/2 times 12 means cut 12 in half. And I'm sure you guys could cut 12 in half, which gives you 6. And then I'm going to go back to my picture. I've got centimeters, so I need to label my answer with centimeters squared. So again, very, very similar to my problem with the parallelogram. Sorry guys, my allergies are crazy. Very similar to the parallelogram. Only difference is that I cut my answer in half, because a triangle is actually really, like if you put 2 triangles together, it would actually make a rectangle or a square or a parallelogram. All right, let's try one more. Sometimes you'll see them look just slightly different. So let's say I have a triangle that is not a right triangle. Maybe it's something like that. And it's going to tell me I've got 12 feet at the bottom. And then in this case, because the height has to be how tall the whole triangle is, they'll draw like a little line through the middle with a square, again to show us that right angle, and they'll label that. That tells me how tall something is. All right, so I have my base and my height. I'm going to fill it into my formula. Okay, so I've got A equals 1/2 times 12 times 5. Now, I'm going to show you just a slightly different way on this problem that you could solve this, doing it the exact, like with the same formula. Sometimes people don't like to multiply these two first and then cut it in half. And that's okay, because sometimes if the problem gets too big, it gets a little tricky. So I could actually do it a different way. So I could actually do this part first if I want to. So basically I'm asking you to cut 12 in half. And I could do that part, and if I cut 12 in half just like above, 12 cut in half is 6 times 5. I didn't touch the 5. And then I could just multiply that out, and it might make my math a little bit easier if I want to do that. And 6 times 5 happens to be 30, and I label it with feet and squared anytime I'm talking about area. So again, I just did it a slightly different way for you. It doesn't matter which way you do it between these two problems, as long as you cut it in half at some point in time. You could either cut one number in half, just like I did here, or you could multiply them out and then cut the whole answer in half. It's up to you. All right, that's the triangle. Both of those pretty easy. Last but not least, though, the one that's the trickiest is the trapezoid. I'm going to flip my page here. The trapezoid is just a little bit strange. It's not that difficult, it's just different. All right, so first, trapezoid. All right, my area formula for the trapezoid. The formula gets longer if you saw from yesterday. All right, so 1/2, and then I've got times the height. And then in parentheses, it says B1 plus B2. All right, so again, H stands for height. Let me draw out a diagram for you of the trapezoid so you understand these different parts. A trapezoid is going to look something like this. Okay, B1 is whatever the length of the top is, because a trapezoid, the top and the bottom aren't going to match. So B1 is whatever one of the top or bottom is. B2 is on the bottom. And then again, height in this case, they might draw it on the inside of the shape, like this. They might also draw it on the outside of the shape. And I'll show you like an example of that just so you know what that looks like. So either way, height is right there for how tall the shape is. All right, so let's get some numbers on this so that you guys can see this worked out in action. All right, so let's say that the B1 was, I'm just going to use just numbers and show you what that looks like. Let's say B1 was 4, B2 is 8, and the height is 2. So again, this is a problem just like solving equations. I'm just going to take the information, put it into the problem, and then I want to find the answer. All right, so I'm going to start filling this in. So A equals 1/2, none of that changed. Now I'm going to multiply it by H, which is 2. And then in parentheses, I'm going to do B1, which is 4, plus B2, which is 8. Okay, so now we could do it one of two ways. The last problem with triangles, I showed you that I can actually do like taking the half and multiplying it by one part, cutting that number in half to get rid of the fraction. So let's try it that way this time. All right, so then half of 2 is 1. And when I've got the parentheses there, it's really like saying 1 times something. And now I'm going to actually add these two together. 4 plus 8 is 12. And again, that's really multiplication. 1 times 12 is 12. Now, if I ever have a problem and I don't see feet, centimeters, inches, meters, whatever, then that means I'm going to label it with just this word units, which means it didn't have a label, but it's got to be measured in something. And again, because I'm finding area, units is always squared. So 12 units squared would be my answer for this specific trapezoid. All right, let me show you one more. All right, so this guy, same idea. He's just going to be shaped a little different, but again, it's a trapezoid. All right, so here's my trapezoid. All right, and on the side here, I've got 4 inches. On the top, I've got 6 inches. On the bottom, I have 8 inches. And in this picture, you would have a little rectangle or square in the corner to make sure you know that's a right angle. All right, so I'm going to go back to this formula. And again, instead of the H, the B1, and the B2, I want to replace it with the numbers that actually belong. So let me just go through my picture really quick. Height is over here on the side. The number that's on the top is base 1. The number on the bottom is base 2. Now that I've gone through the picture, I'm ready to go and just put it right into my formula. All right, so 1/2 times, instead of H, I'm going to put in a 4. Instead of B1, I'm going to put in 6. And instead of B2, I'm going to put in 8. All right, so again, I'm going to go through. I'm going to again start with this 1/2 times 4. I'm going to get rid of the fraction by cutting 4 in half right away. So when I do that, half of 4 is 2. And then I'm also going to add these guys together. 6 plus 8 is 14. All right, so now remember, this last part here is telling me to multiply these two together. So now I have 2 times 14 as my final step to find the area of this trapezoid. 2 times 14 makes 28. This time it did tell me what I was labeling it with. It said inches, and area is always inches squared. All right, so today you're going to see a Kahoot to practice this, but I would also like for you, if you didn't try the worksheet from yesterday, it's really important that you try that because that practice is really great with this brand new thing, and then I can help you. So please, if you did not do the area practice worksheet from yesterday, go back through, fill in the Google form so that I can check through your work. And if you have any specific questions, what I need you to do for me, if you have a question, I need you to email me with your questions. But when you email me with questions, your question cannot be, I don't get it. When you tell me I don't get it, I don't know how to help you. So a bad example is I don't get it. Don't email me with I don't get it. Okay? I can't help you there. But a good way to email me would be to say, I'm not sure how to do number 5. Or maybe you tried it and you put your answer into the Google form and you got a different answer and you're like, I'm not sure how you got that. So maybe you say like, I'm not sure about number 5. If you email me that, awesome. I can email you back. I can write out some steps like this. I can take a picture, send it to you, and I can help you with that problem. But if you say, I don't get it, and you don't give me any other information, I can't help you. So give this all a try today. Brand new. You're going to need this for what we're going to do on Wednesday tomorrow. So make sure you go through it and ask me your questions. All right, good luck, and I will talk to you guys later.